All right, everybody, I want you to make sure that you've got your sample test A packet out in front of you, something to write with, and your calculator. And if you need to pause the video at any time, go ahead and do so, but make sure you have all those things. I am going to touch on a few of these questions with you, and then I want you to go into Schoology. You're going to enter your answers, and then I want you to see which ones were flagged as incorrect. And then I want you to go back and do it again and improve your score by going back and looking at the ones you missed and figuring out what the correct answer should be. I am going to give you or talk through a few of these that either I think might be a little more challenging, might need some explanation, or might just be a question that isn't as clear as it should be. Okay, so first page. These ones I think are all pretty straightforward. I will tell you this on question number 3 here. Remember that this symbol that has those bars around it like this is the absolute value. The absolute value means what is the distance to 0 or from 0 on a number line. Basically, it means it's always positive because we're talking about the number of units. So there's only one answer that makes sense there. And notice A and C are the exact same value, so it can't be either one of those. Ta-da. Number 2 here, I just want you to make sure you understand a circle graph, sometimes called a pie graph. When you chunk this up into different pieces and they talk about the angles, remember that once around the circle is 360 degrees. So when you find out what fraction or percent your wedge is of that piece of the circle graph, then you can simply take that fraction or percent times 360 degrees to find what is that angle, sometimes called the central angle of that part of the graph. All right, that's page 1. I want you to keep on scrolling through here. I think most of these should be pretty straightforward. There's some good proportion ratio type questions, but I want you to look at question number 9. So turn to find question number 9. We're talking about how many hours it takes Roberto to run a race. And notice that this is hours. So if you're thinking it's 3.25 hours to run a 10K race, and they're asking you at that same rate a 3K race, but what you're trying to find here is only in minutes. So here's a news flash. Take this 3.25 hours and convert that into minutes so that when you are working to find this answer, it will also be in minutes. So in other words, multiply by 60 and put that number up here instead, and then your proportion will work out really well, okay? I really want to talk about 12 because we touched a little bit on the metric system, but not a ton. So in 6th grade, I think you learned a lot more or worked more with this, and maybe you learned this acronym. See if this makes sense and write this underneath here. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Now you're thinking to yourself, what on earth does this mean? These are the abbreviations in order for the metric system. Kilo, hecto. Sorry, can you hear Walter in the background? He's being really annoying. Kilo, hecto, deca. This is the main unit. Then we get deci, centi, like centimeter, and milli, okay? And what's beautiful about the metric system is every single one of these places is a decimal or a value of 10, all right? So if we're starting with milligrams and we have this many milligrams, that means we're here. And we're trying to convert to kilograms, which means we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots to the left. Basically, here's what we're saying. We're using a really tiny unit of milligrams, and we're trying to convert it into a large unit of kilograms. So if I have all these milligrams, it's going to be a much smaller number for kilograms. All of our answers look that way. But what I want you to do is find the one that takes this number here and basically moves that decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. All right? Do that and you've got it nailed. All right, on the next page, if you would, turn there with me. And I want you to look at questions. All right, 17. I don't like this question. I don't think it's worded very well. They're saying you get this value on your calculator. And without having any of the values, what was the interest rate? Now, typically, if you have a decimal and you're converting it into a percent, which interest rate is usually written as a percent, you usually take the decimal point and move it 2 places to the right. So that would mean you should get 533 decimal point, and then all of these threes, and then you'd put your percent sign. Now, honestly, a bank that is charging that much interest, that's insane and ridiculous. That would never happen in real life. Other people would read this question differently and just say, oh, just put a percent sign after that. In Schoology, I gave you this question as multiple choice, and I want you to choose the one that says this, simply because the way I interpret this, if you got this number on your calculator, it's a plain old decimal, and to turn it into a percent, you'd move it 2 places. So do that when you answer this on Schoology. So write that down, please. Okay? When you look at, and I'm just going to, well, I suppose I should look at 19 for a minute, just so you understand. You have Monica and you have George. Okay? They both work at this shop. And it says that Monica makes at most 3 times as much money as George. So I'm already thinking, here's Monica and here's George, and Monica's amount of money is either 3 times what George gets, but it's not going to be more than that because it says at most. Maybe she only makes 2 times what he makes. Okay, so Monica's amount is either going to be exactly equal to 3 times George's, or it's going to be less than that. Now, here's the thing. We know that Monica makes $5.50 an hour. So if you substitute that in there, this would be an inequality that represents that. I think I set this one up as multiple choice for you on Schoology. So see what your answer choices are. I want you to jump to question number 25, which I think is a couple of pages here. Okay, we haven't talked about properties for a while, so here's what I want you to look at for number 25. The commutative property means you can change the order. Meaning if I wrote like 4 plus 1, that's got to be the same as 1 plus 4, because when you add, the order doesn't matter. The associative property means this. You can group things in a different manner than just going straight left to right if you have a bunch of addition or multiplication. So usually that means you're looking at different ways to group, and parentheses usually set aside that we're going to do these 2 together rather than going left to right. So when you take a look at this question here, 210, 62, 33, and 11, the order changed. So right away I know for sure I've got to have commutative because it looks like they basically went entirely backwards and switched the order up. And then instead of going straight left to right, they also used some grouping. That's the associative property. Choose the correct answer when you get there. On number 26, which is on this same page, but up at the top. Boop, boop. Let me get up here. All right. You need to find the mean of these numbers because it said, how would it change the mean? So in order to figure out how it changes the mean, what you really need to do is find the mean first. If you're using your calculator and you're using that list function, you're looking for the value of x bar. That's what's known as the mean. If you're doing this by hand on your calculator, you're adding all of these together, getting your total, and then you have to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have to divide by 9 after you get this total. Okay? When you find this value, whatever it is, I'm not telling you what it is, you can find that. If this number is smaller than 27, when you add a 10th value that's bigger, it's going to pull the average or the mean up. If the mean is already bigger than 27, okay, so let's say this. If your average was something like 29 point blah, 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 and you added 27 in there, it's going to pull it down. It's not going to stay the same. And yes, you can determine it. So it's one of these two. Is your average smaller than 27? Is it like 23 point something? If it is, and you add another value in that's bigger than this, it's going to pull the average up. If it's bigger, it's going to pull it down. So you decide after you determine what that value is. Number 30. So you had to jump. Let me see. Oh, I think it's on this next page up here. Oh, yeah. So take a look at all your values here. 45, 67, 56, 50, 43, 46, and 67. Okay? Now, this one is kind of a lot of work because they're asking you questions about all of these things. Okay? You can easily look at what the mode is. I can tell right now, mode means most. The mode is 67. If you added 89 into this data set, the mode isn't staying at 56 because it wasn't 56 to start with. Okay? Here's what I want you to do though. We need to find right now the mean, the median, and the range. So write these down because what's going to happen is we have our original set of data here, and then we're going to see what changes when we have the new number of 89 added in there. Now, this is a perfect time to go ahead and grab that calculator and let's put in your data set and use this data function to do that, okay? Now, I had stuff in there, so I'm making sure my list is clear. 45, 67, 56, 50, 43, 46, 67. All right, so I have 7 numbers in my list. And all you have to do, remember, is press second and data to get your statistics commands. And then we're going to say, yep, yes, one variable, list number 1, frequency 1, calculate. Okay, now let's take a look right here. X bar, that's your mean. 53.42857. Oh, gross. Okay, 53.428. So let's write that down. 53 mean 53.4285. Okay, and it keeps going. The median. Let's scroll down. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Kind of go through all of this information. There's your median. It's 50. 50. Now, the range. You can actually, this list isn't that big, and you can tell that my smallest value in scanning here quickly is 43. And currently the largest value is 67. So take 67 minus 43 real quickly here. And you should get a range of about 24. Okay. Now we have to recalculate everything by adding a data value of 89. just grab your calculator and let's go back here. If you press data, just simply move down to the next open entry point and put 89. Enter. Awesome. Now, second data. Let's do your statistics. Let's get my mouse to cooperate. Yep. All right, now we have new values. Let's see what changed. X bar says 57.875. 57.875. Hey, the mode is still 67. That did not change. The median, let's keep scrolling down through your list. The median is 53. 53. The range, now that did change, and instead of being 67 minus 43, is going to be 89 minus 43. That gives me a new range, Holy Hannah, of 46. Now let's look at your answer choices. See, this one question has a whole lot of work in it. The mean increases by 4.4. That would be 57 point. That looks pretty good, but I'm going to check the other ones for sure. The median increases by 4. Nope, it increased by 3. The range increases by 46. No, the range changed to be 46, but it didn't increase from 24 up 46. That would give me like a new value of, 46, 70 or something. So don't be misled by the fact that you see a 46. Please choose A. All right. All right, I just have a few other ones I want you to look at. Let's take a look here. Next page. Next page. It was, I think, question 43. Let's see, down at the bottom here. Yeah. I just want you to be careful on this one. Your formula sheet will tell you circumference is pi times diameter. Watch it. The radius is 35. If you drew a picture, that means here to here is 35. When you do circumference, you need the whole diameter. So watch it. Now, you'll notice something here. Same numbers, different label. Same numbers, different label. If it's circumference, that means the perimeter or once around, and that is not a square unit. It is only a length. Think of taking a measuring tape and going around the outside. There's a good situation of they're not just testing, do you know which number value it should be, but what label makes sense. On number 46, just because this one's a pretty heavy question on what to do here. It says to determine the number of pheasants. Okay, so we don't know how many total pheasants are really in this wild game preserve. So that's our unknown. But they caught 159 out of the total and they put tags on them. So we know that there are at least this many that have tags on them, and this is the total. Now then they come back and do a sampling, and they said 28 had tags, total of 84. Now really you have a proportion in figuring out this is how many have tags, this is the total that we've got. This is how many had tags originally, and I don't know the total that we've got, but now you have a beautiful proportion and you can figure it out. Take a look at the very last question, would you? This is another property thing. They took 8 times the 9 to get 72 and 8 times the 3 to get the 24. That, when I call it kind of that Angry Birds thing, where you're like pew, pew, shooting at it and firing and launching, that kind of thing, that was called the distributive property. So when you get to that question, that's a freebie. Don't mess that one up. All right, go ahead and fix those ones that I've given you some hints on, or check them to make sure they're correct. And then go into Schoology and enter your answers. And then I want you to go and evaluate which ones you missed. Fix those and take it again, because Schoology will take the highest score. Good luck, and may the force be with you.